Broadcasting live from sunny South Florida, and the best way to start your Saturday. This is KMA Talk Radio. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of fine cigars. And now your KMA crew. The man with the scoop, William Cooper. Alex the Goat Tavella. And always telling it like it is, Honest Abe Dababneh.
I like to smoke them like the Winston Churchill. Like John Kennedy, yeah. Remember Coach Red Auerbach, smoked up for victory, yeah. Well, you can take my wife, you can take my car, but you can't take my big cigar. My cigar, yeah.
Good morning to all our loyal listeners, libertarians, and lovers of the leaf. Honest Abe here with the KMA Morning Crew. My man, bringing you news always rumor and teaser free, William the Scoop Cooper. And joining us today is our dear friend and very special guest host. Always good to see the Godfather, Mr. Fred Rewey.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. This will be fun.
Welcome, Fred.
I love the scenic tropical background you got going on.
You like this? You like this? Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Yep.
Y'all gonna warn me if a gator comes up behind me, though, right? That's the deal. I mean, they're not real big, but I think they could take me.
Do you get them there?
We're in Florida, dude. If there's a body of water, there either is, will be, or has been a gator in it. I mean, that's just. That's just fact. That is fact.
There's
I
one.
see them every night. I've got a couple right now. They're
Really?
kind of like. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're like there's little ones right now. They're probably about 3 feet maybe now. So they have no fear. The little ones don't know what to be afraid of yet. The big ones will avoid you. No problem.
Don't you have a dog?
No,
Okay.
but I'll tell you a funny story. So when we first bought this house, which was about 3 years ago, the area you see behind me that was water was not. It was like 50 yards of weeds all the way out there. So I had this whole cove cut out. So the first time my wife goes out there, she'd stand up paddle boards. And my wife goes out like right there, up into it goes all the way out to the water. And she says, okay, I need you to come out and watch for gators when I go out. And I'm like, okay, you want me to like get the gun or something? She's like, no. And I'm like, well, do you want me to like come out after you? And she's like, no. And I'm like, so what's the plan here? Am I just supposed to watch you get eaten by a gator? Video it for YouTube? What is the outcome here? So, but they stay away from her, so I'm like, well, okay. I'm from up north. I am not going in Florida water. You have critters in this water. Up north, we don't. So, no, not happening.
Yeah, you go behind Corona Cigar. There's a gator that lives back there.
Oh, there's a big gator back there.
Big gator. I've seen him because he was
a big gator. Yeah.
He kind of started coming up towards my car once. Yeah.
Well, I think what it is there's a restaurant next door that's a sushi bar, and I think that like somebody from that restaurant throws food out there.
That's exactly what happened.
And, I mean, I saw Lake Placid with Betty White. This does not end well.
No. It's a big one. Like you said, it's a big one.
Wow. It just comes up in the parking lot?
Well, there's a lake behind the parking lot.
There's a wall there.
There's a wall, but but what happens is, like I said, it's pretty intimidating because you pull your car up and then like you're at the head of the car, you see this gator. Like it's kind of interesting to see that.
Interesting. Well, as everybody can tell, I got a different setup today. I am not in the dining room because I decided today I wanted to enjoy a cigar on KMA. So
nice.
In that spirit, I'm going to be lighting up an LBD Blue.
Ooh.
Yes. I'm excited about this one. I haven't had it in a long time.
Very nice.
Found one in the humidor. What are you guys lighting up? And what is everybody lighting up at home? Share up.
Yeah, let us know. I've got the Illusione Epernay Tuanella, which is the Epernay blend, which was like number 3 of the year. And he redid it and put a San Andres natural wrapper on it. Swears he didn't change anything else, but damn, it's good. Tasty.
Yep.
Cooper, what about you?
I got a Perdomo Legacy Maduro in a size I haven't smoked, the Churchill size. So I'm about to...
I don't think I've ever done the Churchill size though.
Yeah, this is I've done a few of the other sizes of the Legacy, but not the Churchill. So
I gotta tell you, man, it's been a while since I've seen such anticipation for a brand hitting the shelves. That brand just seemed to have resonated with everybody. I know one retailer had the early drop on it before everybody else, and my inbox just fluctuated. When's it coming in? When's it coming in? When's it coming in? So
Yeah. Our team, like the folks who smoked it at the trade show, the whole team wasn't at the booth, so not everyone smoked it. And the guys who were all at the booth all had it as the number one cigar. And it was the shade grown one. This is the Maduro one, but they were very high. And I know people who aren't Perdomo people who really have taken to this cigar as well.
Nice lineup from the listeners too. I'm impressed with
definitely.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if you're going to start your morning, you got to start with KMA and a good cigar.
Even Alan Rubin has a good cigar going on.
I'm surprised you smoked that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, what?
That was in my top 15 last year. That Trinidad number 3.
I just smoked one last night or the night before, and it was good.
That's my favorite of the Trinidad. It's the number 3.
All right. So let me light this paper up. So I
with the Padrones and Davidoffs today. I like it. Celebrate.
Yeah.
It's summer. Longest day of the year. Or was that yesterday? I don't know. They're all long.
You know what's interesting? Growing up in the north and then you move south, is the longest day is actually shorter in the south than in the north.
Yeah.
Because
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like in New York, we had longer day. We had a longer day, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, all the days are though. I mean, I go up north. When I lived up north, I would literally leave the house at 4:30, play 18 holes, and come back home, and my wife would be like getting up. I mean, it was just and at 9:30 at night, it's still light. I mean, we don't have that here. Our sunset here is I think 8:30. I think.
Yeah.
Ish.
And when I was in Edmonton years ago, I remember it was like 4:20 in the morning, and it's like looking like it's 10 in the morning. So that was, and I was up there, like I said, in the around this time. So yeah, that was weird. It's a weird feeling to see this.
I like it though. I think I go by the sun because like when winter hits, when we get the opposite, especially in Florida. Yeah, I'm sitting around and my wife will be, and I was sitting on a couch where I'll have a cigar. She'll be have a glass of wine or whatever, and I'll like, well, it must be time to go to bed. And I'm like, fuck, it's 6:45. Really?
Yep.
I gotta tell you, it's like when it hits the summer, because I work in a closed office the majority of the day, so I don't have any clue, daylight, thunderstorm, unless I hear it or what's going on. So when summer starts hitting, I come out like 7, 8 o'clock, and it's still daylight out. I'm like, whoa. And I kind of like it until I start getting in the car and feeling the 8,000 degree heat in the car. That's the downside. And then I get a little sad. Come wintertime, I come out like at 6 o'clock. It's dark already, but God, the weather's so much better.
Is it dark when you go to work in the winter?
We don't start that early. So the earliest I'll ever get there is like 9. So it's not really dark.
Because when I lived up north, I remember in the winter like going to work in the dark and leaving in the dark. Like if you didn't go out to lunch. Yeah. If you didn't go out at lunch and you never saw the sun.
Right.
And I don't know what the Tom and Michelle do. I'm out. Forget it.
Yeah, Tom and Michelle, I don't know if I could live that lifestyle. It's hard.
Oh, there you go. Speaking of which,
that 3 a.m. sunrise. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I'm all about. When I was in Alaska, I was wide awake at 11 o'clock at night because it's still sunny out, and it was great. But I must be a sun person or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I was on last night, scrolling through my phone, and I got tagged by somebody. I think it was Gary Brooks. I ended up catching a little bit of the end of the Dojo show, and Fred, you were a guest. Fred, Fred's working overtime this week.
2 shows in 11 hours. Go figure.
There was another show before that. Whose show you did before that?
Between
these two, yeah.
These two.
Yeah, like literally, you must feel like you just got off, went to bed, and got back on.
I just left all the stuff out. Ready to go. I'm like, I'll just turn the camera back on.
I tell you, I really wanted to have a cigar, so I had to make this setup. It took me like 45 minutes to put this all together out here just so I could have a cigar. Like,
now I leave the studio intact.
I know. I thought it'd be easy. Let me go hook it up. Let me just go move it.
Sometimes I'll pull the car in here if there's bad weather, and that's a pain. But otherwise, yeah.
Here's what people don't realize, Abe. When you and I do something like this, and it's not in the studio in the right place, this is the jankiest setup you've ever seen. I have I have a laptop on top of a cardboard box, on top of a table with a ring light, leaning against the wall next to another tripod that I don't even know why that tripod's there, but it's there for an emergency. I've got a fan with an icy breeze shooting cold air into it. I mean, it's just people don't realize how janky the behind the scenes is.
I really should have one of my kids take a picture of what I got going on right now. So
I can turn the laptop around, but I'm worried I'm going to knock over the cardboard box.
I'm stuck right here. I can't get up until the show's over. I'm like locked in. So, this is like our outside patio. So the only thing I have is this ottoman, which means I would have been doing the whole show like looking down at the laptop like this, and everybody getting
right.
And my nostril view the whole show. So
remind me to tell you a program to put on your laptop that will make this better. Because I was doing the cramped, like can't move my leg because you can't get close. I have a program that works for that allows you to control the camera.
Oh, really?
With still Zoom, still everything. I love it.
So the ottoman's too low. So my laptop is on. My wife actually has a little manicure rolling table. She does nails for the girls. So it's on this little like bean shaped table that's a little narrow, right? And then there's a pad on the back side of this table where people like rest their wrists when they're getting manicured, right? So I had to get this Monte Cristo ashtray to put on the front end of my laptop because otherwise, the pad would make my laptop's balanced between my Monte Cristo ashtray and the back pad. My microphone is over here to the right. So, ashtray to my right.
Ring light. You got a
ring light over here, barely fitting on the left. Fan over here, and I am trapped. I am stuck in, but I got my Keplam cup and my coffee. Let me tell you something. There's a couple versions of these, but I just bought this one recently. This is awesome.
Keep it hot.
159 degrees. An hour later,
I have the Ember. I have the Ember one, which does
I had the Ember one, but it went bad.
Love it.
It went bad. My Ember one. I got the Ember one actually from Briggs as a gift. It went bad, and so I went online to buy a new one. And I like this one because the Ember ones are all kind of tiny.
And it's probably cheaper. Cheaper. The Ember's pricey.
It was a lot cheaper, like half price.
I believe it.
It holds 16 ounces, and I like the settings on the phone better. Turn it on, off, and I can actually set. I can actually set custom temperatures. It's actually really good. I like this setup, and the coffee works, stays hot.
Good.
Yeah. I put an extra coaster thing in my office versus downstairs where it normally charges just to. Yeah. If in the afternoon I do a cup, I can just throw it on that, and it just doesn't run out of battery.
I have the heated coasters. They work pretty good, but if you have a very tall glass, it won't. So that's why I'm kind of curious about getting this one now.
I kind of miss having coffee mugs though, based on my mood.
That's why I like this.
I kind of miss that.
Yeah, I kind of have. Yeah, I got this here. It's just that's the one thing I do like.
I drink way more coffee in a day than this gets washed, so I use all my mugs.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I think I was saying on the show last week when we were in New Orleans, Ben got me hooked on that Community Coffee brand, which is the brand made in Louisiana, and they have some great coffee to get, and they have an incredible dark roast that they call New Orleans blend, and I just ordered a whole bunch of them on Amazon. It's a great coffee.
So Abe, we hijacked. You were tagged last night.
Yeah, I was tagged last night, and I caught the bitter end of it. And it seemed like it was a good conversation because it was about retailers. And I kind of jumped in a little, but it seemed like it was a really good conversation. I missed a little bit about it. So what was actually going on? Because I literally jumped in at the very end.
I didn't say it, so give me the context. Yeah.
So Eric did for myself and everybody. He did 5 questions or hot topics in the cigar industry. Influencers, big ring gauge, that kind of thing. And one of them was, do you need to support brick and mortars? And, should you absolutely be supporting them? And so that got into a debate on brick and mortars versus ordering your cigars online. So just to preface what it was, my response on that is I had to go first, which caused some mix up on some stuff. But I said, look, if your brick and mortar nearby sucks, and Abe, you'll correct. Let me finish what I said, and then Abe, you can correct me on whatever you disagree because you would know more about this as a retailer. But I had said, look, if your brick and mortar sucks, as far as like not stored right, bad handling of cigars, stuff like that, obviously that's not a brick and mortar support. I mean, in my opinion, you want them to be handled well. If they carry your stuff, great. If they don't carry your stuff, you can ask for some of your stuff. They might bring it in. But I think my biggest point about brick and mortars was, and I had two, but the biggest one is look, without supporting brick and mortars, if you took all of our top 25 lists, and Coop, I'm going to have you think about your list as well.
Right.
Half of those brands we would have never seen had they not come through a brick and mortar environment. Catalogs aren't going to pick up small boutiques left and right. So a lot of these guys came up through brick and mortars, and to this day will continue to. So, this is the guy that I think you absolutely have to support. And we'll talk about pricing in a second. But Abe, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that comment right there?
I want to hear Coop's thing first before I jump in.
So the answer is I have a lot of local brick and mortar friends, and I support all of those guys. And if I can source cigars first from them, I certainly will do that. That being said, in what I do, I sometimes have to procure cigars that aren't available through samples and aren't available through my brick and mortars, like some of these smaller brands, right? Then I will go online, and I don't have any guilt about going online to do that. Just because, I need to get access to the cigars. And then, Fred, I didn't even think of the point, but if it does suck, then you're right. You're not going to want to go in an environment you don't like as far as that.
Why would you?
Right. That the other thing I'll just say is it depends what when you say support brick and mortar, I think it's purchasing from your brick and mortar, not like going there and just like lounging around all day. So
of course.
Well, yeah, it's not a library. It's not paid by the government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of always been my way of. And the other thing I'll say is consumers, at least in my market, they're very retail loyal. In that they go to one store and they won't go to another store. Because I get a little crap on that. And the reason why I go to a lot of stores, I know a lot of retail friends in Charlotte. So, but I noticed they're very loyal to one store, the consumers in Charlotte.
So this is actually a really good topic because a lot of times I see the comment from people, don't buy online, support your brick and mortar, like just blindly, which I think is an absurd comment. So
agreed.
So, but it's not a black and white answer. I think the first thing you have to address is there are more convenience stores on Manhattan Island than there are decent cigar shops in the whole of the United States. So
right,
the majority of the country has no choice. And when I say the majority, the vast majority,
over 50%,
but to order online. So that's part of the problem. And, most of my following and my patrons who follow me all over the world now, a lot of them really don't know my whole story. So I started out with 900 square foot brick and mortar. So I've lived through the gamut of really being about as small of a brick and mortar as you can be for many years, to multiple brick and mortar locations, to multiple brick and mortar locations, and an online presence. All right. And here's my personal philosophy on how I like to spend my money. I personally like to spend my money with people who I want to spend my money to, meaning that there are businesses that I will frequent, sometimes not my favorite restaurant, but I love the people and they take care of me. They treat me like a king every time I come in.
Yep.
I'd rather go there. I want to spend my money with people who feel like they appreciate the money. Because listen, I work hard for my money, so it makes me feel good when I'm spending my money with people who appreciate my patronage and going in there. So early on in the day, when I was a brick and mortar, like small square feet, that was just a philosophy that just came natural to me. I mean, we had for 4 years a group. Now this is a 900 square foot store. So, for people who can't envision this is a really small store.
30 by 30.
We had like six like fabric wingback chairs. That was the most seats we had in there. And a little like mock bar that didn't even have liquor, but guys could just stand and have an espresso and shit, really small. And we had 26 to 30 guys every Saturday having lunch together there. Because the one thing you do have in a brick and mortar that it's very hard to do online. And, I think part of our success is we've been able to kind of recreate literally what I did years in the brick and mortar through our online presence. But you can create an experience that just can't be had online. And if you build the culture and the experience right, the pricing doesn't matter because everybody complains about. I remember it being in this business so many years. Everybody other retailers, my competitors, people that I looked up to because I was really small, all bitching about guys like Lou Rothman and whatever and how they're ruining the industry. I never understood that. I never felt that way.
Right.
In fact, I admired Lou Rothman, and thank God we're actually friends now.
Yeah,
and I see him a couple times a year because what he does and what I was doing is not the same business, in my opinion, you know? And I also learned early on is, look, if you wanted to be a smart retailer, and this is probably one of the smartest things I did really, really early in my career when I had one store. I had a customer who came in and bought 20 to 30 boxes. And that was a small store, 20 to 30 boxes of La Gloria Cereal at the time. It just come out, and he was a big hedge fund guy, ended up going to prison. But he was giving them out. He must have been giving them out, doing shit. I didn't give a fuck what he's doing, but he was coming in buying a lot of cigars.
I know. Yeah.
Guy disappears. Don't see him anymore. And in our line of business, a couple things happens. Doctor says, hey, you got to stop smoking. You're going to have a heart attack, blah, blah, blah. The guy dies. Or if you're in Florida, the guy goes to jail. I mean, that's kind of like one of the three things. If you have a regular patron, all of a sudden vanishes, right? So I run into this guy a couple weeks later, and not a couple weeks later, a couple months later, a few months later, and I'm out and I see him. Hey, John, what's going on? Everything all right? I haven't seen you in a while. And the guy was just straight up honest with me. At that time, very, very weird scenario. And I don't even think you, Fred, or Coop even know this story. But when General bought La Gloria, okay, or when I got into this business, General Cigars had some weird deal. So as a retailer in Florida, I couldn't buy direct from General Cigars. So you know about this, Fred? Well, you're Floridian.
I know that.
Right?
I actually don't know this. I
know that there was a distribution agreement that General could not do there. Somebody had like a grandfather clause from.
It was Oscar Baruchan, former vice president of General or whatever, who ended up buying Mike's cigars and somehow got a exclusive distribution deal.
Yeah.
So if I'm a retailer in Florida, I go to the trade show. General won't take my order. I got to order through Mike's, who's basically a retailer. It's so weird. This went on for years, and it didn't stop until General acquired Villazon, which is Hoya de Monterey and Punch, if people don't know. They acquired that company, and as a retailer, I already had an account with them. So they realized, what are they going to do now? Tell people you don't have an account with them anymore? So that whole thing kind of fell apart there. But my guy said, I drive down to Mike's, Abe. I know it's like an hour and 20-minute drive, but I buy 10 boxes at a time. And, when I'm saving $50, $60 a box, a lot of money.
Right.
How do I argue with this guy? There's no experience I can give this guy that's worth that kind of savings, right? Because I'm a firm believer that people don't mind spending a little bit more if they're treated right. Okay?
So let me ask you in the middle of this part, because were you able or have enough margin to match his price?
I stopped carrying the brand.
Okay. All right.
So what I did there is at that, look, here's the thing. At the end of the day, you want to make your customer happy. So Perdomo had just came out with Perdomo Habano. And if anybody can remember back then, the boxes looked just like Cereal. There were square boxes that came in 3 different wrappers, just like Cereal.
Strange coincidence.
Strange coincidence. And it was like $2, $2.50 cheaper a stick. And honestly, it was a great cigar. It was one of the great sellers. The brand still exists today. So we actually trained our people, anybody who came in and bought La Gloria Cereal, just to say, hey, look, this cigar came out, give it a try. If they bought a box, they would give them a free stick of cigar, and we think we like this better. You try it, see what you think. And, it's $2.50 less, $2.50 less expensive a cigar. And we successfully converted people out of that brand. And I'm telling you, for 9 years, when I got in this business, General Cigar was 40 to 50% of my humidor when I first got in. For 9 years, everything that General made was on an 8-foot shelf. And I was in utter shock because these 9 years was my company's growing years, right? I'm opening up more stores. I'm going to trade shows. I'm not going to their booths. I'm not placing an order at the trade show. I'm like, how is no one that's like reaching out to me saying, Abe, what the fuck? This went on for 9 years. My business thrived. I carried brands that I could be competitive with, and I provided the best possible service that I could do. So that won for me. And we wouldn't carry, if a company came in and they didn't have map pricing or didn't protect the brand, we just didn't carry it. Don't need to. There's enough cigars out there. I could provide a phenomenal variety without having to carry every brand. So putting a cigar that I can't compete with, that nobody protects the price, and it's out there for $10 or $15 above my cost, creates my future doom. Right? Do you understand that? I get this consumer.
Totally.
Let's talk about that if somebody's not following it. So, as a manufacturer, look, it makes sense to sell the catalogs because 50% of the people are never going to walk into a lounge. It's relatively, forget about the pay for placement in a catalog. It's relatively free advertising. It gets the word out there. Catalogs and online sales in general are good for brick and mortars because they are spending money testing out cigars left and right that can get traction and also get brought into a retail shop. But, and this is where my hot button is, and as somebody that used to be a manufacturer, I get this. A catalog will come to you and want a really big order of your cigars. I mean, if you're a boutique starting out, they could say, hey, look, we want 75,000, 100,000 cigars. And in the boutique world, that's a lot of cigars. And they're going to buy it at a much lower price point. But here's the thing. The manufacturer needs to have a contract that, look, you can only sell this online for 10% below wholesale or whatever that locked in price needs to be, or excuse me, below retail. Whatever that locked price is. The problem is when they start dumping cigars and throwing them out there.
Because what manufacturers don't realize is if it doesn't move, they don't give a shit about the contract because they're never going to order from you again.
So I'm not going to promote it. I'm not going to say the name, but when I finally went in the catalog 2 years before I sold, someone, I'm not going to say his name because I just don't want to call him out, but even though it's a good thing, he gave me really good advice. He said, when you're dealing with the catalogs, he says, mail them about 1/3 of what they want. So when they run their spreadsheet at the end of the night, they're not seeing at the top of the list what they're trying to unload. You're staying down in this lower third tier that there's not a ton of stock. They're totally cool with it. And they're not fire selling that because they got to make their quarterly or monthly number. And I tell you what, that worked great. And whatever they wanted, and then I knew their inventory levels, and I would send them another 50 boxes or whatever. But that's the way to do it.
I give that advice to a lot of the new companies who sit across my desk. I said, it's not a problem selling it to them. I don't care. Make them adhere to the price and never send them everything they want. Just send them enough that it stays in their system. And then they can't get overloaded because when they get overloaded, they're going to do exactly that. You can make them sign a contract.
Anybody would. Anybody will. You will. You're going to unload stuff that's sitting in the warehouse.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I do. I call the manufacturer first.
Smart.
I've done it with Rocky. I've done it with, hey, listen, man, I got 50 boxes of this. This is not going anywhere. Do you want to give me a credit? I could try another line you have.
Swap it out.
Or do you want me to fire sale it? I give them the option, because it can't be logical for me just to sit on shit that's not moving. So as a working partner with me, you either have to work with me to take it back, and I don't even want my money back. You just give me credit, I'll buy other shit with it, or you gotta let me fire sale it. I got to get it out the door.
Right.
So we always do that option,
and then sometimes you're blowing out stuff because there's a good reason, like they changed the graphics on it or something, and it's like. That manufacturer's just trying to get it out, and it's a fire sale, and those are killer deals. I mean,
it's happened. Sometimes we realize that we're not going to carry a brand no more. We don't have a great relationship with them. Guys don't want to deal with this. We just blow it out. It's done. I mean, look, part of the thing, especially as you get bigger, because you'll know better than anybody, you can get fucking drowned in inventory. So you have to really be savvy in moving out. And sometimes we're not killing a brand. Sometimes I'm just. Who knows what happened? System gave a wrong order. We got way too many boxes of one line. So we'll have something just to get our level down to our size. But you have to manage your inventory. You could drown. But the point I'm getting at here is eventually General, after 9 years, reached out to me and made a way for us to be competitive, because that's the one thing I saw coming up as a retailer in this business that most of these retailers just didn't understand. They were pushing and supporting brands that really was producing their own future demise, because you got a guy on this one cigar, and then and all of a sudden the guy loves it, it becomes his favorite cigar, and then 3 months later he sees one of these major discounters blowing it out at $15 over your cost. You lost that guy, he's gone. And I think that's the biggest problem with retailers across the country, even still today. They just don't understand that concept. Part of the power you have as a retailer, small retailer, brick and mortar, is that you could talk to your consumers. You could show him new brands. You could teach him new brands. You could guide him to find something that he will extremely enjoy within the spectrum of what you want to carry. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing, I think. But I stop at just like I'm sure you do, Fred, just like I'm sure Coop does. I stop at a cigar shop anywhere I am in the country if I see one. Gonna check it out. The reality is most retailers are awful. You walk in, that's just the reality. It's a sad reality of it. And I think that was a lot of the older generation when I first got in who are still around. I think the newer guys are getting it in. They're more savvy and they know what's going on. But how many times have you walked in a cigar shop, you walk in, you don't even know who the fuck's working there. No one says nothing to you. You just happen to walk in the humidor, say, all right, let me find out. Maybe the guy's in the bathroom. Maybe the guy's doing something.
Right.
Then you come out of the humidor and the guy gets up from the lounge. He's sitting with the other customers to ring you up. Like, what the fuck?
I think when go ahead.
No. So, I mean, I think most of the B&Ms who are suffering, it's suffering because of their own accord. One, they're not savvy enough to understand the business of it. And they don't give a shit enough to be different. They say, look, man, I used to tell anybody who worked for me, if a guy makes it from the front door, I don't care if you're on the phone and you're by yourself. It's very easy to cut the bottom part of the phone and acknowledge somebody. But if a guy makes it from the humidor door, from the front door to the humidor door, and you didn't acknowledge him in some fashion and saying, hey, if you need a hand, because the guy sees you're on the phone, hey, if you need your hand, I'll be right with you. That's all you got to do. Just acknowledge somebody. And I think most brick and mortars don't understand that.
I think you're absolutely right, though. Look, I mean, you're in a customer service business. They can buy cigars. They can never leave their laptop and buy cigars. And you're in a customer service business. And the ability for me to walk into a shop and have somebody guide me going, hey, have you tried this? Or I see you're normally smoking this. Have you tried this one? Is a huge, huge value. And, one of the things that surprised me when I first started in the cigar industry was how many guys ran a cigar shop that it was a hobby for them, not a business. They didn't know what stock they had.
A lot.
They didn't know what sold, and that threw me off. And then, so, you have to look. One thing I like about you, Abe, and I'm not going to say a lot of compliments about you, but I will say this: we've been friends a long time, and cigars work, don't work, or whatever like that. It's not personal; it's business. Every slot inside a humidor needs to hold its own in one fashion or another. You can have some of your favorites in there that don't move because it's your shop, and you can say, hey, I can have a certain number of these, and I'm just going to carry these guys. I'm going to support them because I love them, and it is what it is. But at the end of the day, every slot needs to pay its weight. You're renting out real estate, and it needs to pay its weight. And it's not personal, it's business. And just because that cigar doesn't sell in that shop doesn't mean it's not selling in 500 other shops elsewhere. So that's how, that's the thing. But you nail it. I mean, my favorite hot button, by the way, is when I walk into a shop, people don't have a clue who I am, which is totally cool. And I go in the humidor, and then the guy comes in the humidor and goes, oh, you need to try this. Like, dude, you don't even know what I smoke. You don't even know what my profile is. Why do I need to try that cigar?
I don't even ask people. I don't even ask people like what their profile is. The first question was, so what have you smoked that you've enjoyed? Because then that tells me what I need to know.
Yes.
Now I'll help you. Because most people don't even know how to verbalize their profile. No. So I mean, look, I've never, because I've been there, man. Listen, we have many times customers walk in our stores with a majors catalog and literally showed me it and say, hey, do you carry this? Came up to the register. Now he's holding the catalog and shows the cheap price, but wanted to buy it from me. If you're in retail, which we're in retail and people don't understand that, right? It's easy to sell something. Coop, you want this, right? This is something you want.
Right.
All right. If I have it, you buy it from me. That's easy.
You trust the person on top of that.
No, but if I have it and you want it and I sell it, you buy it. It's easy. There's a difference to making people want to spend their money with you, right? This is where I'm choosing. I can go here, and here, but this is where I want to spend my money. And I like spending my money with people who do stuff back for me. right? Like, when I go to a restaurant, he always gets me my table or does, he's putting effort into my experience, right? If I'm spending money, I love people who, I think this is why we win a lot. Because even just simple selling cigars, we do our best to try to put effort in your shopping experience. You're just buying cigars, man. You're not like, going on vacation, but we will try to give you an experience in a simple transaction of buying cigars. And this is why we succeeded at retail, and it really wasn't until social media, and then I kind of got savvy on it, that I learned that, what, I could still take what I do in the stores and put it online. So I've never really felt for brick and mortars who cry, and believe me, they cry. I've been listening to retailers cry for 30 years. And it's funny because they always look at me and like, well, that's just easy for you to say because they're just seeing me today, right? They're not seeing my whole history of where we did and where we came from. I've been there. I've done what
they don't see the failures. They don't see the experimentation. They don't see the failures. They don't,
So, brick and mortars, if you're a good brick and mortar, you have a definite advantage because no matter what you do online, you cannot compete with the one-on-one, face-to-face personal experience. I mean, listen, we try. We send a handwritten letter with every mail order that somebody actually writes. That's the most dreaded thing my warehouse team. I mean, it's not that it's dreaded, but I mean, it's come up over the years. Do we still have to do this? Absolutely.
You know what? I ordered something from you on Monday, and I put in the order at 2:00 because I got the confirmation on email at 2:00. At 4:00, it was already shipped.
Yeah,
I had tracking number. I'm 2 hours, and honestly, I didn't have time to go look for a bunch of other stuff. I saw something on an email that I'm like, okay, I got to try these just to have them, and I got the box. It was shipped fast. I got the box. There's a handwritten letter in there. I mean, it's little things like that. I mean, when's the last time you got a handwritten letter in anything you've ordered? I only have one other company, by the way, that I know that does that. That's something I order on a regular basis. It's outside the cigar industry, and it makes a huge difference.
True story. When we started doing it, nobody was doing it, and when we used to have reviews back then, it was the number one comment. I can't believe someone handwritten me a letter. I've never seen. Now there's a lot of people that kind of do it. They've caught on, and I see
okay.
it.
I mean, it's going to happen.
Listen,
because it's a good business practice. If people look, if you're somebody that has the ability to do that, if you're a smaller retailer like Abe or a small shop, or whatever entity that's doing it, and you have the ability to do it, you'd be not stupid. That's a harsh word. You'd be crazy not to take an idea that works well for somebody and do it. It's not proprietary. It's a nice touch. If you find some of my best ideas come from other industries.
And I'll tell you how it started with us because it wasn't a marketing ploy. When we first started our website, because I got in the game late as far as websites are concerned, right? When we first started our website, you turn this thing on, bro, there's not a sound, there's not a ping for weeks, right? I mean, people just don't start shopping. They've never heard of you, they've never seen you,
right?
You haven't marketed. So I'll never forget, like when the first ping came in, oh, fuck, we got an order. This is fucking awesome. I just personally wrote it just because I wanted to from my heart. Thank you so much for your order. We appreciate your business. Please don't ever hesitate to contact us if we could be of any further assistance. I just wrote a heartfelt letter, and then I just kept doing it. And as our business grew, all right, I couldn't do it for every fucking mail order because I'd just be writing letters all day. So then the policy was I would personally write the letter to every first-time customer. And then, whoever was pulling and packing would just do it to the rest. And then that became a little absurd too. So then anybody who's pulling or packing would write the letter, but we still write them. And even when I go to the warehouse today, I was writing letters about 2 weeks ago. I was there helping. They got inundated with some Osaka. I was getting some stuff. I was writing letters. So it really just didn't originate like this is going to be a good marketing point. People are going to love it. It originated because I was so grateful that somebody found my site and said, "Hey, let me try this company out." I mean, it was. I'll never forget that day.
I don't know anybody else that will come up with an idea and implement it faster than you do or try it.
For a fact.
Well, I know for a fact. Can I tell a story?
Absolutely. I give you credit.
I ordered something from Scotland. It was golf related. And I'm going through the checkout And at the end of the checkout was a couple radio buttons that says, hey, if you want to keep this, receipt not included and you want it to be a secret, whatever like that, check one of these boxes. And it was like, Secret Santa, congratulations on winning, whatever. That's what would be printed on the receipt. So I screenshotted that and I sent it to Abe. And I'm like, look, this isn't cigar related, but I don't know anybody doing this. And I thought it was fun. And look, everything runs its course at some point. But I mean, I sent it to Abe. 2 days later, Abe sends me a text and says, go check out the checkout. And I go to the checkout and he's got it on there right away. And look, if it worked, great. If it didn't work, then you just, you let it go. But I don't know anybody that can implement something like that faster than you do.
You know what? It's funny because Joey Jobs, who works for us in our marketing and stuff, he came from one of the major four, right? And his first comment, like in this first few months working, is, I can't believe how fast you guys will do shit. But that's part of the beauty of not being huge and not having layers and not having red tape and bureaucracy. If I want to do something, I just do it and the team makes it happen. So it's not like this big convoluted,
right. It's not a conference room and a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
The attorneys.
And I'm going to tell you something, Fred, that alibi is used every day by somebody.
That's funny.
Every day.
That's
still.
funny.
And I'll tell you the funniest story. At least 5 to 6 times a month, every month, like clockwork, and especially first-time customers, because I don't think they figured it out. We'll order the alibi, pick it, choose the message, and we have the messages that will change depending on the time.
Right. Yeah.
So he'll pick his own alibi. When his package gets there, he says, "Hey, it says I was your monthly winner. I didn't get anything. What happened?" 4 to 6 times. It happens so often, in our CRM software for emails, we actually have a template. So we just hit one button and the copy comes in that says, hey, we just want you to understand that we have this alibi feature and what it's for. And, this is what and the guy's like,
yeah, I checked the box.
So, and we tell him, don't feel embarrassed. It happens like 4 or 5 times every month.
That's funny. That's funny.
But yeah, it's still used today, man. It's still used today. I don't know how many of it is legitimate or just novelty, but it's still.
Who cares?
Yeah,
who cares? Because it's another moment of engagement for the guy that it's legitimate. That's like trying to hide his cigar budget, which was a topic last night. Also, look, it helps him. Hey, you want a contest? Oh, good. I don't have to explain why I just spent $100 on cigars or whatever, and that's okay. That's between you and your spouse. But if it's a novelty and people have fun with it, and if it just makes them smile. Yeah, I mean, then it's worth it. I mean, where in this world is it not okay to have something even as weird as that or small as that if it just makes you smile for a brief second and feel like it was something fun? Hey, it's worth every penny.
Absolutely. So to wrap up to your point, do I believe in the statement that you should support your brick and mortar? I think it's absolutely farce. I think you need to support the people who support you. If your local brick and mortar is doing the right thing, it goes back to what I said. You're going to want to go there, right? I'm not going to go there just because there's some philosophy that I need to support the small guy. Small guy needs to be doing what he needs to be doing. Then you'll want to support him. And there's tons of very good, successful small brick and mortars who are winning because they've understood that. So, I don't believe that you just need to blindly support your local guy. If he's not taking the time to keep his humidor fresh, if his shop is messy and trash, if he won't bring in selections that your consumer wants, a lot of times people, how many times have you heard this from a retailer, Fred? I don't carry that line. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is an absurdity to me. What the fuck does it matter what you like? You don't make a living on what you like.
I mean, look, during the boutique boom, I would be in retailers when I was doing a lot of events, and they're like, oh, I don't carry any of the, General Atatis because, I don't like it. I want to only support boutiques. And I'm like, well, then you're crazy. Because the guy that comes in and buys the Macanudo and tubes for his golf tournament buys the box and walks back out and you just made money. So it's not what you have your favorites, but at the end of the day, put on the shelf what sells. That's your job as a business. So let me ask you this though, because I want to get this point. Without brick and mortars, how many of these small boutiques that have hit home runs over the years would never have made it without a brick and mortar outlet to work their way through first?
The majority of them.
Yeah.
They need it. But I'll tell you something else too. Believe it or not, the big catalog guys need it too. Do you know why? A lot of people will go to a brick and mortar to try a stick.
Yeah.
And then go buy the box because it's so cheaper online. I mean,
it's a symbiotic relationship.
It's a very symbiotic and convoluted relationship.
It is.
Right?
It is.
But at the end of the day, I'm a Darwinist by theory. The strong survive. I don't care what level you are. I was strong at every level I was at the game when I was nobody, 900 square feet. So I had multiple locations. Now I have 3, whatever. I just do what I think is right and to the best of my ability. I haven't seen anybody with that mentality in my life who's failed.
Look, I think it's one of two things. You either have to have abundance mentality or scarcity mentality. If you're a brick and mortar with scarcity mentality, saying I'm the only one that's going to, now the balloons went off. I don't even know how that. If you're the scarcity mentality, going, I'm not carrying your cigar. If the guy across town is carrying your cigar, I'm not carrying your cigar. If you sell online, then that is a scarcity mentality that is an indication of how you run your business beyond just that one cigar scenario.
I agree 100%.
And that's problematic. If it's abundant, go, look, this is the world. The world is I can go out and buy cigars probably cheaper online. And you have to acknowledge that as a reader. So go, okay, how do I have that benefit or how do I play in that circle? Because that is the real world.
You hit a perfect point here, Fred. It just made me think of something, right? So believe it or not, in my career, especially as I was getting a little hefty, I would get a call from a manufacturer. Hey, look, this shop just opened up, and they reached out to us for an account. It's a little, close to you, whatever. I mean, and they just kind of asking me how I felt about it. I'm like, sell them. If they really want your cigar and they don't buy them from you, they'll buy them from anybody. I don't have a problem with it. You're not going to upset me. There's no issues with it. But here's the thing. And this is why, because I learned early on. When I opened up my second location, and this is all mentality. This goes to what you were saying about mentality. When I opened up my second location, there was no cigar shop. So I'm in Jupiter and West Palm Beach. It's about a 20, 25-minute drive, right? Using I-95, right? And there was not a single cigar shop in between those two locations. Within 2 years, there was like 5. They were popping up like everywhere. It was really funny. My first few years in Florida, nobody was opening up stores. The second I opened up my second location, all of a sudden everybody started opening up stores. People were coming from Miami, opening up stores in Palm Beach Gardens. It was crazy. So I used to get very anxiety and frustrated every time I heard a cigar shop was opening up, because your mentality is, look, we don't sell food, right?
Right.
Not everybody's eating. We already have a select, limited resource of consumers, and now I got to share more of it.
Right.
So, I used to get kind of upset, and then a funny thing happened. My business kept growing every year, and oddly, it was proportionate to the number of cigar shops that were opening up. And what I eventually learned was, because here's what happens: no matter what happens, each cigar shop will generate some new people. Right?
100%.
I live here. I really don't go to that cigar shop. It's too far, but this one just opened up around the corner. Now I'm going to visit it recently. And you know what? I'm going to introduce my friend to the cigars. Hey, Bobby, come have a cigar with me after golf. And it will always generate some small percentage of new customers. And then I just started realizing is, look, if we do this right, and we've been doing it right, those people end up finding us for multiple reasons. Shitty service, right? Here's the number one reason I think we gained a lot of customers, right? And any consumer who's walked in to a cigar shop, if you go to a brick and mortar, another reason why people, why support a brick and mortar like this. Oh, it's back ordered. Oh, it's back ordered. Oh, it's back ordered. You come in the third time, it's back ordered. But meanwhile, 3 of your competitors all are carrying them. That means you just haven't paid the bill.
Right.
And that's common in our industry. I mean, there's certain things in our industry, when you see it, that's just somebody didn't pay the bill. You just know what the story is, right? Even when it's small manufacturer, when a small manufacturer tells me he can't get product for 6 months, you owe somebody money. That's how I see it. Because if you're willing to pay people, people will give you shit.
Weird.
Yeah, weird, right? Strange, odd, right? So, and that's what we want a lot, because a lot of these times brick and mortars will just use that as an excuse. And, you could get away with it 25, 30 years ago, but now, especially with online, and especially with there's a shop every 15 minutes, you can't get away with it, because if you don't have it, they're just going to go. 15. Listen, my own stores, Vinny's store in Delray, licensee, he's one of my Smoke In still. I get customers driving to Boynton because they went to his stop and he doesn't have it. Right. And
Right.
if you're in this game and you're afraid of inventory, you're in the wrong business. Get the fuck out. Inventory is your best friend. Now, it could drown you. That's why you got to be good at managing it, watching it, moving it. But inventory is your best friend. If you're afraid of inventory, you need to get out of this game. And that'll kill you. That's especially nowadays. If you don't have something when somebody walks in, 9 out of 10 times he's just going to order it on his car ride home or stop at the other shop on his car ride home and pick up what he wants. So those days of, not having something are pretty much over. If you want to be in this game, you need to keep your levels high. And, it's funny because they'll leave money in the bank, and they won't buy product.
Right.
And you know how many times I've told a retailer, the money's worthless in the bank. Like, you're not making nothing. It's sitting there. The product is potentially doubling your money. It's still value. It's still there, but it has the potential to make a sale for you. You're better buying product than leaving cash in the bank because it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. And I think
you're right, though. The younger generation is better at it. I think that the ones that the younger shop owners now that I see coming in, they understand it a little bit more. Maybe they're going in for more of the right reasons because it's not the guy that retired from, whatever and wanted to open a shop his whole life. And, it's not a business for him. It's a place to hang out and a lounge with his friends. I think the younger group, I think they understand it. They get that.
No, they do. And there's still a lot of old people, which I dub relics. There's still relics in the industry. And they haven't changed their ways. How many retailers do you know are still living in 1980, 1990?
And how much they complain every year their business is down because they're not adapting.
And they're wondering why, Yeah. They're wondering why. So just before we go to the break here, what was the overall consensus of the group on this topic last year?
It was pretty much in line. I mean they were saying, that you don't have to support them just because you should support them. We all agreed that if it's a shitty retailer, you shouldn't. But there are advantages. You can go in and you should support them, and you can go in and you can, the nice thing about a retailer is that, look, if I go online, I'm not going to order one stick from an online retailer or whatever. I can go in and I can get a stick that I have every once in a while and just pick up one. I can pick up one of a new one and see if I like it. So there's a lot of that. And if you like that environment, if you like hanging out in a lounge and you got AC and you got drinks or whatever, you should, but you don't have to blanket support a retailer just because that's the right thing to do. It's a service business.
I agree. Which brings up another point, right? You have to corral your consumers as well, because what Coop was talking about earlier, there's every lounge has them. The guy will frequent your shop every day, not buy anything, sit there, use your Wi-Fi, have your bartender bring them a glass of water, not a bottled water, whatever. Right. And look, man, here's my philosophy in life, and probably where my moniker came from. I'm just going to tell it to you the way it is, the way I see the truth. If you don't agree with it or you don't like it, that's not my problem at the end of the day. So I can't tell you how many times I've taken a regular guy's been coming in for like a year, sits down, doesn't spend shit, doesn't do shit, doesn't do nothing. Will spend hours in my shop, siphoning I'll just take him in my office and I'll just have a simple conversation. I say, hey, Bob, I see you here every day. Every time I come out of the office, I see you here. I said, let me ask you a question. It's nice to sit here in a comfortable chair and enjoy the AC, right? And then you watch my direct TV when there's games on it, right? It's pleasant, right? You're on my Wi-Fi, using the internet. I think it's a pleasant environment that I would enjoy myself. And you obviously have been enjoying it very much. Is there a reason why you feel you don't need to contribute to help the company that's providing all that for you? Because believe it or not, some people just don't get that. They don't get that all this I'm enjoying comes in an expense, whether it be the bartender I'm paying for, whether it be the direct TV monthly bills I got to pay for every receiver in my store, whether it be the Wi-Fi, the internet service. It's not free.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying
right.
And I said this. I'm not saying you got to come in and buy boxes of shit, bro. But if you're gonna come in here, buy a cigar, sit down, enjoy it, and enjoy my
before the break. Quick question to close this for the break. I have a cigar that I really want to smoke, and I'm meeting my friends at your shop. I want to smoke my own cigar when I come to your shop that I didn't buy there. Is it acceptable if I go there with that cigar, smoke that cigar, but I go in your humidor and I buy a couple sticks anyway, that I'm not even going to smoke right then?
What we train our people is they're never to confront people about smoking cigars that wasn't purchased there.
But you want them to buy cigars. They should at least be buying something, even if they don't smoke it now.
Hold on. We never confront them. And they never confront them. I'm really the only person that's allowed to, or a manager I trust, because that's a very sensitive thing. Because especially with a guy like me. I don't know if he's smoking the cigar he bought in one of my other locations. We don't know if it's smoking a cigar he bought from a box he just bought yesterday and bought it in. We don't know. So we don't never make an issue out of a guy who just walks in one time and does it, right? Because you don't know the whole fucking story. But if you, like the other guy, like I said, we waited a year. I mean, what do I do with shit? You know, we wait a year. Yeah. You know, if you wait, you know an abuser from a guy you just don't know what's going on. And I see too many retailers jump. I had a guy, true story. I had a guy. It's nice we don't have to take a hard break. We're not on radio anymore, so we can extend this a little bit. But I had a guy who found me before I even had online. I think he used to call me and phone his orders in. This guy spent, and this is going back 20 years ago, $1,500 every order plus, because he was a Davidoff smoker, and he used to buy all his cigars at the Madison store, or one of the stores up in Manhattan, one of the Davidoff stores. He was a Davidoff customer, and he had just bought 3 boxes the day before. Bought some of the cigars from his 3 boxes. Who walked in, and they told him he had to buy a cigar. You can't bring those in and smoke here. He actually told them, I just bought 3 boxes yesterday. And their attitude was, yeah, but you're here today. Never ordered from them again. Called me up, and I became one of my best customers for many, 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 many years.
Yeah.
You know, we just don't jump on that. You know, I mean, if a guy's gonna abuse something, you'll know it after time. You just can't charge in because a guy smoked a cigar. So we don't watch like that. And then we know, because we bring up everybody under their name, so we know their history. So when a guy comes in there, I said, hey, bro, you've been coming here for like a year, like almost every day for a year, and you've bought like 10 cigars. I mean, come on, man.
Right.
You know, I mean,
That's fair.
Even if we missed some, it's only 10 in the system.
Right.
You know, and then look, my attitude about that kind of a conversation, because it is a sensitive conversation, is I'm being genuine and sincere, and I'm making a lot of sense. If you don't understand my logic, then I don't need you as a patron. If you're a halfway reasonable human being, you'll understand where I'm coming from and see that I'm not trying to bully a sail into you, man. I'm trying to teach you how to be a good human being. Support the place that you come and enjoy every day, bro.
Yeah. Go buy some sticks.
and most of them get it. Most of them get it. But, you know, but a lot of retailers don't know how to have that hard talk. They either come in like Rambo, blaze it up, or they just let it go on forever, and then it becomes a prolific thing with other people. And I've seen cigar shops like that. Oh, I got these guys come in, but they don't buy nothing. They sit here all day. Well, that's on you, bro. This is your ship. You're the captain. You have to navigate the seas. You know?
Yeah. It's a good point.
It is. Anyways, we're going to have more in hour number 2. I don't know what we got going on. I know Coop's got some news. I'm not sure we're going to have a name that jam.
I have something to go.
My man Coop came through because Alex didn't set something up, and I didn't realize it until this morning. But I'm going to try to go to the commercials, and we're going to go to break in about 2, 3, 2, 1. Honest Abe here with the GOAT to tell you about Smoking's Cigar of the Month Club. Alex, tell our fans out there why our club is the best darn club out there.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you why. Because every month I personally handpick 5 premium cigars. No filler, no fluff, no fugazis. These are all premium handmade name brands that you can find in any brick and mortar store in your area. All delivered to your door for $34.95. And our average monthly retail value since the inception of our club has been almost $57. Another great feature of our Cigar of the Month Club, Alex, tell them about the ease of our Cigar of the Month Club. I'll tell you, I hate subscription services. It's always a pain to cancel them, turning them on. We've made it super simple. All you gotta do is log into your account. There's a little green button there. If it's green, you're active. You want to take a break, you're going out of town, simply hit the button and you'll deactivate your membership. Want to turn it back on? The exact same easy process. You can turn it right back on. We've made it that easy for you. Another great feature is our Double Down Club. Alex, tell them about the Double Down Club. We had so many of our members reach out to us who really enjoyed our selections every month that they wanted to know there was a way they can get 2. And we've made that very simple. With a simple check mark, you can get double this great selections every month and save $10. Does our club have perks? Of course it have perks. You want to tell them about the perks? As a member of our club, every month there's a special discount code where if you like any of the selections, we will offer them to you, so you want to come and get some more. You can get them at a special discounted rate for our Cigar of the Month Club members. And finally, expedited shipping. Tell them how fast we get the stuff out, Alex. We get the stuff out on the 28th of every month. Our membership bills on the 28th, and we get every member's package out on the 28th if it's a shipping day. 5 great reasons on what makes Smoking Cigar of the Month Club the best club out there. Check it out. Peace. Hey, I really appreciate you doing the video with me. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. I mean, you didn't let me get a word in, but whatever.
What?
That was great. It's perfect.
Still a classic commercial.
It is.
Welcome back to hour 2 of KMA Talk Radio, everyone. I saw somebody's comment during the break, and it really reminded me of something. I think this is where, sometimes you don't know where your mentality comes from. And reading this reminded me of probably the origin of my psychology to the business. And I saw Tommy from New York asked if there was any correlation to the cigar business and the grocery business that my family was in. But Michael talked about a chain across the street. So my father ran a neighborhood grocery store, 6,000 square feet. So not tiny, not huge. Our produce was like 1 12-foot cooler section, or maybe 16, or 8, maybe 20-foot cooler section. But that's it. We had 6 aisles. That's it. And we had a phenomenal meat department, right? Old butcher blocks, nothing pre-wrapped, nothing pre-shunk. My dad was a journeyman butcher, cut a whole cow down, So the store was called Bill's because my dad never changed the name from the guy he bought the grocery store from. So my dad just became Bill. People knew him as Bill, or would call him Bill, unless you really got to know him, then they knew it was Roger. And then, I was growing up and started working the store, and the kids of the people my dad became my patrons, and so we're doing this. But I'll never forget it. It's like before I really was kind of a partner in the business with him, and I was just kind of working as a teenager growing up. I'll never forget, literally 1 city block. So I don't know what that is, 30 yards, 50 yards. 1 city block at the major intersection, Dominic's was opening up. At the time, Dominic's was the biggest grocery store chain in Chicago. Okay. Equivalent to Publix or you're in Florida, or Safeway or Kroger or whatever else, whatever's in your neck of the woods. And like, as a teenage guy, I'm like, oh, our business is over. What are we going to do? And my dad wasn't worried. I'm like, how do you not be worried? Like, this is the biggest chain and whatnot. Because they can't do what we do. The people who come to our store love coming to our store. They know us. We know them. We know their kids. They don't want some pre-shrunk meat. They want me to go something for them the way they want it, the size they want it. They want to see me, or they want to pick it up from the counter, see me wrap it up. And, they'll still come. And sure the fuck enough, our business continued to flourish with the most major chain literally 50 yards away. So I just kind of learned early that, he was right. Just because you're small, sometimes like the advantages of being quick, and sometimes being small gives you advantages over the big guys. I still have major advantages of what I could do and how I can operate over the major internet guys. Flexibility on my website, it's old and we're going to revamp it in the next 12 months, but our make your own sampler, which I created, we were the first to do it. We're the only one that do it where you can actually save it. So if you created a 15,
I love that.
Yeah, that's a great feature.
Your profile, and most of our patrons don't even know it's there. But I'm not blowing it up because there's a lot of back end stuff. As stuff has been discontinued, we need to figure things out. It's one of our projects to clean up and then really push it out there. And I think even Thompson's or Famous, somebody tried to emulate it, but it sucked because not everything they had was available that way. It's like they only had stuff they wanted to sell.
Right.
Make your own sampler program, and then you couldn't save it. So ours is really the best one out there. So sometimes being small, if you're have some ingenuity, you have advantages that the big people don't have. And just during the break when I was reading Michael's comment, I just realized that's probably where I got my psychology, because I literally thought when that chain opened up, our family business of 34 whatever years is gone. We're done. Sell it. Let's find something else to do. I know, man. And it was there up until the day my dad sold it. And then it got run by a few other families over the years. And then somebody ran it into the ground. So, and now
there's a reason I go to Ace Hardware versus Home Depot and Lowe's, because I know the guys at Ace. They know what I want. They get obscure prices. They know their shit. I mean, I walk on the bolt aisle and I'm like, oh, I need one of these. And I got a guy that's a 95-year-old dude that's hunched over that goes right to exactly what I need in the drawer. Their business is doing just fine. It's always packed when I'm in there.
And meanwhile, you can't fucking find anybody to fucking help you out in Home Depot. It's like, it's like, trying to, you're lost at sea, Look, you could win. You could win if you want to win. And I think that's really the ultimate moral of the story is, no matter
what's your value proposition that somebody else doesn't have. That's all it is.
What can you do? And you have to care to have that psychology.
Yes. And train your staff, though. You have to train your staff to reflect that. Just being the owner in the back room, if you got that attitude, is great. If your staff doesn't have it, it's lost. Train your staff on that.
That's the hardest.
And we all have been to shop. We've all been to shops where we're like, man, this staff is well trained. Like, I mean, and it's the smallest thing. Like if you empty an ashtray, how hard is it to empty? Most of the lounges I'm in, they got maybe 7 ashtrays out there on different tables or whatever. How hard is it to get? I don't care if you come over with a fire pail. I don't care how you empty the ashtray. You want to swap it out and then go walk off, do something with it. That's great. But that means a lot to me when I don't have 3 butts from everybody sitting in their cigars left over or whatever. And so just little things like that go a long way.
Keep your bathroom clean.
Oh, God.
Man, I can't tell you how many times I go in a bathroom like, what the fuck? The one of the knobs is not even on the faucet. Like, how do you not fix it?
Look, we all grew up with, when you're on a road trip with your parents, McDonald's is where you went because it had clean bathrooms. If anybody knows Buc-ee's, if everybody talks about Buc-ee's, which is a massive, it's a Disneyland of gas stations, and you can get beat. You go in there and there's like a light shining down on the beef jerky aisle. I mean, but everybody talks about the bathrooms at some point. And
have you heard my Buc-ee's bathroom story?
Do I want to know your Buc-ee's?
No, it's funny. It's funny. It's funny. We were going to St. Augustine or something. We were driving up north. Now, I had never heard of Buc-ee's, but as we started our socialite group, consumers were sending me Buc-ee's shit, and like food and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I'm reading it. I'm learning about what Buc-ee's is, but I've never seen one. So we're driving up to St. Augustine, and my daughter Petra goes, Dad, I got to use the bathroom. And I see a sign, Buc-ee's 20 miles. I say, Dad, can you wait like 20 minutes, 15 minutes? She's like, yeah, okay, great. So I'm like, we're going to that Buc-ee's. So we pull up to Buc-ee's, and all my wife sees is the biggest truck stop on fucking earth.
Right.
And she looks at me in the nastiest tone and she goes, you made our daughter wait 20 minutes to go to a truck stop? I'm like, oh, bro, they came out of the bathroom. I was a motherfucking hero.
Right?
Is there another Buc-ee's on the way? This is like the
Yeah.
best bathroom I've ever
Yeah.
been in. They couldn't believe it.
Buc-ee's is great. I wish it was a public company so I could invest in them because they will just continue to grow and pick great locations. And
The problem is they're limited.
by real estate or
Real
just
estate.
yeah,
They can't be everywhere, man. It's very select place where they could find.
But
that
their
much real estate.
their models generally middle of nowhere between two cities. You know, they get close enough to the city that the city person can come outside the city and get it. But it's a travel destination. You're on the road, and that's where you're going to stop. That's where you're going to get gas. That's where you're going to get some snacks.
Yeah,
Breakfast brisket burritos before 10 a.m. I'm telling you, hit those.
I was telling my brother recently about Buc-ee's and whatever, and he just recently came across his first one. He was flabbergasted. He's like, oh, yeah. And he said to me, I wonder why there's none around here. I was like, bro, you're in Chicago. There's nowhere they're going to put a Buc-ee's. I mean, it's like, it's not that easy. It needs a huge.
It's a chunk of land.
Chunk of land.
Yeah.
All right, Cooper, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right. Next segment brought to you by the fine folks at Avo Cigars will be manned by our man, William the Scoop Cooper. It's time to see if you can name that jam. Copa, what you got for us today?
All right. So, kind of a take on something we've done before. I have 5 songs I'm going to name. And all these songs went number 1 on the Billboard chart. And you got to just tell me the year it went number 1.
Oh, fuck you, Coop.
Which is the same year it was released. Now, here's the catch. I could do it multiple choice, or we could do it closest to the pin. I'll let you decide, Abe, how you want to do it.
I'm for multiple choice, Fred.
Oh,
yeah, I am too because my odds got increased exponentially.
I won't. I didn't make it easy with that, but okay. But
it's make it something simple. So, what exactly are we doing now? You're going to name a song, and we got to tell you what year it came out.
Yeah, you can tell me the year it came out, which is also the same year it went number 1.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first song is "Grease," the title track to the movie Grease on the soundtrack by Frankie Valli.
Jesus Christ.
Your choices are 1978. 1979 or 1980?
Fuck. I thought you'd at least space them out a decade apart or something. Give us a couple of.
That would be too easy.
I mean, it's just I'm going to say 79. It's a random guess. I mean, it's all in that area.
What?
78.
Abe gets it.
There we go.
1970.
Right.
Total skill, Fred. Total skill.
Okay.
He doesn't realize how old we are, and that era is like it's lumped together by.
We're good.
I mean, it's just
Okay. Here's the next one. This is "Money for Nothing" by Dire Straits.
Ooh.
Your choices are 1983, 1985, or 1987.
Okay, that's a little more
83. 83.
Okay, so 83. I was 11. No, 85.
85 and 83. Abe gets this one as well. 1985.
Nice.
They played that song at Live Aid, which was 40 years ago, and then it went number 1 a couple months later. Yeah,
that was more of an educational guess because I remember.
I was trying to tie it to MTV, and I was thinking, okay,
I was too young. That's why I knew it wasn't 83. I was too young for MTV.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not important to get into an age thing during this. I think.
All right, the next one. This is Caribbean Queen by Billy Ocean. Your choices are 1984, 1987, or 1988.
88.
84.
Fred gets it at 84.
Oh, there we go.
See, we're getting out of the 80s now. So, all right.
Oh, good.
1990s. "I Do Anything for Love" by Meatloaf, which was actually his first number 1 song. And the choices are 1990, 1991, or 1993.
those are so close. I mean,
I know.
you should at least make them 2 years apart.
Well, I did this on the fly, Abe. I mean, come on.
All right.
Listen, kudos to Coop. We didn't have a segment ready.
Right.
Coop did this like literally before when the show started.
2 minutes before the show started.
Yeah.
Literally. So I know I was in college when I was listening to it a lot, but I can't remember if it was during high school or what were the 3 years again?
1990, 1991, and 1993.
I'm gonna go 90.
I'm going to go 93.
Fred gets it, 93.
You, Fred.
All
So
right.
it was a 1-3 guess.
So here's the tiebreaker.
What a comeback by Fred Rewey.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's give him a hand, everybody.
All skill.
Now, this one is spread apart, okay? So quite a bit.
Oh, good. So
All
we
right.
have a chance.
All right. So the song is "We Are Never Getting Back Together" by Taylor Swift.
Oh,
Your choices are 2006,
1962.
2006, 2010, or 2014.
2014.
I mean, which breakup would it have been? I don't know. I mean, let's go 2006, the John Mayer aspect.
All right. Abe takes it. 2014.
There we go.
How the fuck old is Taylor Swift?
She's getting close to 40, I want to say. She's in her 30s.
I mean, like in 2006, what was she, like 12?
Yeah. You know, this came up on our music show, right? You know, we talk about Elvis. We talk about the Beatles. We talk about Michael Jackson. Do you put Taylor Swift now in that same category?
No.
Based on what she's, it's a tough. That's
So here's the thing. Here's the thing.
numbers. I know what you're saying.
I probably statistically and number wise and sheet wise, if you're doing a tail of tape, maybe.
Yeah.
I just don't think culturally and society wise and perception wise, yes.
That was my argument, Abe, that she has the numbers, but she hasn't like reached. She's quite as much. For
That's
that
the
reason.
same people who think LeBron's the GOAT because he has most points ever scored in a career and played like 10 years longer than everybody, right? On paper.
Right. He's a great player. No one's saying he's not a great player, but with Jordan's 6 championships and
But so you're comparing Taylor Swift to Elvis?
I don't think he's a
the
great
Beatles.
Michael Jackson, like at that level, like those are the biggest names we've seen in the music business the last 60 to 70 years.
I would say that those three, forgetting Taylor Swift for a second, those three, everybody in the world knew who they were in one shape or form, whether they listened to them or not. There's still a lot of people that don't necessarily know Taylor Swift.
That's my argument, but she's got the numbers. She's got the numbers.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what too is I don't think her music breaks the generations either. My kids listen to the Beatles, right? My kids love Michael Jackson songs. I don't think it's going to be the same for Taylor Swift.
Okay,
but most of our generation don't relate to Taylor Swift.
But I don't know that those, like the Beatles, I don't know that they broke generations at the time of their
time they did, and it was later.
I don't know that any of those did. Elvis was a certain
No,
audience.
you can't say that about Taylor Swift. What I'm saying is I don't believe she will.
I agree. I agree.
I agree. I don't see. Maybe I'll see some moms listen to Taylor Swift, but not dads. For the most part, you know what I mean? I'll listen to Taylor Swift. I mean, it's one of those. I've said it before. I'm driving along. I'm like, this is a pretty cool song, and then I look at the screen. I'm like, God damn it, it's Taylor Swift. I'm invested in the song, but you know. Yeah.
Well, that episode was brought to you by the fine folks over at Alba Cigars. Cheers and kudos to Cooper who put it together.
Good job.
The show has to go on, guys. I mean,
last minute. Good job.
Yeah, we should check that. If that doesn't happen, let me know. I could do something a little more prep.
I mean, you did it in 2 minutes. Alex makes it sound like this huge thing.
I had a bunch of stuff on spreadsheets and stuff. I was able to pull as quick. Yeah, so
I don't want to get into an LBJ argument, but I'm just going to make one simple statement and we're going to move on. When you use the word great, because Cooper said he's great, and I'm going to tell you why, in my opinion, he's not great. If you're going to use the word great, greatness can't be attached to somebody who knowingly flops and drops and does drama and whatever. That's not great. Now, statistically wise, number and performance, he's great. But I can't.
That's what I'm talking about, Abe.
I can't put greatness, like you're going to call somebody great, on a guy who thrives his career fake flopping and doing shit. And no one could dispute that he's a fake flopper. I mean, there's like cajillion videos of this guy flopping and crying without anybody barely touching him. And there's about 8 million videos of Michael Jordan getting fucking slammed and punched and ribbed and tore down. I mean, you can't just
you look, I see, unfortunately with this argument, I see the Jordan people make a bigger deal. Like the Jordan people, I think, tend to just the majority of people will say Jordan, in my opinion, but there is a small group out there.
Well, I think the majority of the group, but not all, because I know a few people, are people who really haven't had the chance to see Jordan play. So their only experience with Jordan is watching the highlight film or, the historical data. But when you look at greatness, like, I mean, especially being a Chicago player, right? We never felt like we were going to lose a game. Do you know what kind of greatness that you must have, that sitting in the crowd, you're 20 points down and you still feel like we got this? That's like insane.
Look, the people that bring that up are the Jordan people. The same way the people that bring up that Brady is not the best quarterback of all time are the Brady people, because nobody else is taking that argument.
That's what my feeling
is. No one takes that argument. Brady is the best quarterback there's been. Period. You can argue eras and you can argue everything else, but the only people to bring that up are the Brady people trying to get everybody else out. Jordan is one of the greatest there will ever be, and he's a different level. Is LeBron a great player? Absolutely, he's a great player, but it's not the same.
Yeah, Abe, growing up in New York, the Knicks were their rival, right? And the Knicks, I never felt the Knicks could get, like, I always thought Jordan had it over the Knicks, right? They couldn't get past Jordan. And when they finally got to the finals, it was the year Jordan left. So what does that tell you? I have enormous respect for him.
Jordan kept a lot of people from ever getting a ring.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when he went into the finals against Magic and got the first ring, I think that really kind of showed me then that what, like, we knew what was happening.
Look, how many golf tournaments did Tiger Woods keep people from? That's a different level of player.
Right.
Anyways, Coop, how's the news segment?
A little light, but I have three stories. One of them I'm kind of interested on your take with. So
I always like giving my takes during the news.
Yeah, so
100%.
I always try to come up with one where Abe's got a good take. So I have one I'm really curious on his take with.
All right, everyone. Well, it's time to find out. This week, what's the scoop with our man Coop?
Hey, yo, what's my theme music?
The Scoop with Coop. Breaking industry news. Hear it first on KMA Talk Radio and cigar-coop.com.
So this is our STG release of the week. This one is a new cigar coming from Cohiba, and there is a new Cohiba Spectre coming out. This one is the 5th Cohiba Spectre they've released. This is their most premium release. I did send Alex the pictures.
Do you have the video of it? Because Alex actually sent me that video.
I don't have the video. I don't have the video for handy. Yeah.
Oh, Alex sent me the video, man. He says he actually texted me this and said, "Whatever you got concoct this year, don't even plan on getting #1 packaging of the year."
They tend to always give it to the Spectre, by the way, which they do a good job on.
This one, I deservedly so.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one, it's kind of got these coffins arranged in a cylinder, and then there's a travel humidor that comes out of it. But yes, they are released. This is starting to hit the stores right now. It will run you $149.99 a cigar. So It is not cheap.
I guess the $100 per cigar threshold is now officially broken.
Yes, yeah. If you're interested in this, it is it is a Havana, Connecticut wrapper, Mexican San Andreas binder, a Criollo, and San Andreas and Vuelta Abajo tobaccos in the filler. They say this is the first time they're using this particular varietal of the Criollo 98, which is grown in the region called Mao. So if you want to smoke these, it's going to cost you $149. I've smoked some of the Spectres; they're good, but I'll never say any cigar's worth that price either.
You're going to have to bear with me here. Excuse the technical ignorance, but I just want to play this video.
I think it's worth watching the video. Yeah.
Hang on, I got to time this right. I got to glare.
Just back it up just a little.
Back it up
bit.
a little, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of you can kind of see it a little bit.
Maybe this way. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. That's better.
And it's a travel humidor.
That's a travel humidor that comes out of it.
But the opening of this thing is just insane.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it one more time. Hang on.
Yeah.
See if I can get that play button. Shit.
What I liked, Fred, about that travel humidor is it kind of gives you something to take with you as opposed to this big thing that's going to sit in your house afterwards. You have something kind of to, as a keepsake.
Look, I'm not a huge fan of the high dollar cigars as far as, we know what tobacco costs. We know how much you could possibly put into a cigar. But I give a pass to what they've done on this line every year. I think it's cool. I don't care if I need, a USB port and a firmware update for the humidor that they make this thing in. I just think it's cool. And having the James Bond theme, it makes perfect sense.
It's going to be a tough year for packaging this year. There's been some big, they have the Romeo Julieta one, which kind of elevates up, is a really good one. They have, of course, some of the Fuente stuff that's come out this year as well. So it's going to be a competitive year.
And I don't even think that video does it justice. I want to see this thing in person because it almost looks digitized or whatever.
I don't know, the way that front slid open. It's just wild.
We could probably put it on
cool.
The mechanics of this thing.
We could probably put it on the social. We could probably put the video on the social.
Well, we got to get it. We got to get it in person and film it right there. And I think it's cool. I think it's cool looking.
Look, and there's always that debate about this. There's a market for that stuff too. We'll say, yeah.
Sure.
So I thought, like I said, it was. Like I said, that video was pretty interesting.
That's not the one you wanted my opinion on.
No. I got one story, and then I want the one on your opinion. So this is just a small story. If you're a La Flor Dominicana fan, they have shipped out the La Flor Dominicana Oros, which for the first time are now coming in 20 count boxes. So previously they were, and they're still available in the gold tubes in the five count packaging. But if you want to get a 20 count box of these, now they have 20 count boxes of all the sizes. So
without the gold tubes.
Without the gold tubes, yeah, which I thought was a smart move by them, by the way. So, but they didn't get rid of the gold tube. So if you want to get the gold tubes, get the gold tube.
Do you think it was a smart move or as much as a necessary move?
Both.
Yeah, I think.
Why not do it? It's like, why not do it?
I think those gold tubes were starting to fuck the shit out of them as far as getting them on time, as far as tariffs that's probably coming on them.
Good point, Abe. Yeah, you got a little
we need
take
to
on
get
it.
the fuck out of it. We got cigars. We can't get tubes.
Yeah, and right. My perception is this is a popular line. So why not? So yeah, but I agree. Tubes, you hear all the time. We have packaging is the delay for everything.
Yeah.
Packaging is a big problem with a lot of manufacturers. They get caught up in this, ornate packaging, and they realize they're running packaging issues, and all of a sudden you realize we can't sell the cigars we got because we're waiting on packaging.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not a tariff issue though, because it's not being made in the United States that way. So they're not getting tariffs at the tube level. It's being sent there. But I think it's just smart. I think it's smart.
Yeah.
Because the tubes are being sent to the DR.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're not paying. They don't have a tariff issue. But I think it's smart if you have a line that has traction on there. And I mean, we've seen it with other brands that have tubes and also offer in boxes. I think it's a great move.
Yep. All right. Last story. Davidoff this week announced their earnings for 2024. And it's kind of unusual to see earnings in the cigar industry because most companies are privately held and they technically don't have to disclose it. So Davidoff is one of the few privately held companies that still does this, but they do it to an extent. They don't give you like a full financial report, but they highlight certain things that they had this particular year. And there were two statistics I wanted to
just private company do that. I'm just curious.
You're going to find out in his next sentence, I bet.
Yeah. All right. So
I have an opinion on this as well.
Yeah. So there's two things I want to kind of point out on this, right? Number one is they said their revenue went up 0.9% from the previous year.
It's because of price increases.
Yep. And number two is they said
that's one thing that people don't realize when they talk about revenue going up.
Yeah.
Even when I look at my year-over-year business, right, and I look, we went up so much percent. Well, fuck, there was a fucking 3 to 5% increase,
right?
From last year to this year. So you're not necessarily you sold anymore. You fucking broke even.
Yeah. If you go to count, if you go to count, your count can be down and your sales can be up. And if you're not paying attention to that, it's like those two different things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing about that is they said they produced less cigars last year than they did the previous year. And they said, and a lot of that had to do with Europe more than the U.S. They said it was track and trace that kind of decreased the production. So they still had their revenue, they're saying, up, even though their overall production was down in terms of what they produced.
So price increase.
Price increase, right? Exactly. It all translates to that. The other one that, they didn't disclose the numbers for all the brands, right? And I was really curious where everything. This is where I'm wondering where I lied, but they did highlight that Zeno had a 28.1% increase in revenue from the previous year. That's
I believe that.
I believe it too. I could just say from the Coop site when I track traffic, Zeno's been on fire on that.
Listen, I'll tell you, it just comes down to everything else. When you put effort in something, shit happens. You know, they got this guy Law. They put him in this fucking yellow suit truck. The guy's traveling 26 days of every month doing events. He came to the Great Smoke. Shit catches on. It's not a bad cigar. It's a reasonably priced cigar. It's got a great historic name. There's no reason why it shouldn't be successful. And I think, it's not. I guarantee you, none of those is off Scepter or Crown Series increases.
No, they claim to be. And I agree with you on that. This was very controversial when they made that move to the Zeno Nicaraguas because Zeno was in a lot of ways considered more premium than the Davidoff brand.
Zeno was the premium brand.
Yeah.
And then Crown and Scepter Series was something that was literally, this is my opinion. This is not like a Davidoff statement, but it was literally created because Davidoff only has I don't know where they're at now, but it's probably somewhere around 250 to 300. But back in my day, it was under 200 appointed merchants.
Yeah.
You got a few thousand great cigar shops out there, and you only got 200 and some people carrying white label. What do you offer all your other retailers? And Crown and Scepter were those cigars.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they got, yeah. Go ahead, Fred.
Davidoff's model in my opinion, and I'm not speaking for them or anything like that, obviously, but I mean, look, they tend to pick 3 hot buttons a year, and they get behind them. We've seen it with the Avo series when they all of a sudden go full bore. This year happened to be the Zeno one that they went full bore on. And Law's out there. He's working his ass off. He's getting it out there. If any line had a chance of getting that big of an uptick, it was certainly Zeno because it's kind of that brand that Davidoff. Look, it's named after the guy.
Yeah.
But they don't want to put Davidoff on there in any way, shape, or form. So it's this brand that nobody really knows its identity when it's out there without any kind of promotion. Nobody knows what it is. Half the Davidoff guys don't even know that Zeno's part of that line because the packaging's different than it doesn't say Davidoff on there at all. You put meat behind that as they have done this year. And Law's out there, like Abe said, 26 days every month. I mean, he's nonstop in this van going all over the place, doing event and event and event. It makes sense that it went up. It makes sense that it's a brand that has that traction. They threw a lot of money behind it. I'm not the least bit surprised.
When we were at the trade show this year, and Davidoff was back, and in previous years it was always Davidoff, Camacho, Avo, right? They were the 3 brands. This year, Zeno was on equal footing with those brands, and a lot of activity in that Zeno section. Kudos to Law, by the way, who I thought he did a great job at the Great Smoke because one thing I like at the Great Smoke every year is that outdoor lounge outside, where you're getting in. To me, that's always a fun time. I connect with a lot of people out there. It's a big part of the Great Smoke, in my opinion. And they really that lounge was great this year to have that, the coffee and everything.
It's a lower price point Davidoff cigar, if you will, too. So it has a chance for the traction on there.
Yeah, and they're going to expand it. There's a red. It's yellow. There's a red one now. I think that's going to come out. It's already in Europe, and next year I think we'll see it here. So they're definitely going to be investing in it, and it has been like I said, I was really skeptical when they did this. I got to be honest with you. I'm like, what are they doing here? And it worked. It's definitely working.
Yeah. I think part of the reason why it worked is it was very open for everybody to try because of the price point too.
Yeah. 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 The big test with Davidoff's going to be in 26 is it's Avo's 100th. They're going to do something for Avo's 100th. You know that. And will that jumpstart Avo again next year is my question.
So my question is, has Avo brand been in decline, has been stable, or you feel it's been growing?
It pains me to say it. I think it's been in decline.
Fred?
I think it's
that's your buddy.
I know.
It
It
is.
pains me to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, Avo and I were friends and we smoked together 3-4 times a week for 20 years. But I will say this. I think a mistake was made before Avo died when they knew that obviously he was older. They transitioned away from the guy and into tried to do a lifestyle of what Avo represented. And look, it's easy in hindsight, but I saw it kind of there, and I think that was a mistake. I think they should have kept him there. Even after he passed away, I think they should have just doubled down on that, and I think they probably would have had a little bit better traction and understand where they're going, because it was almost like starting over in some ways. Other than name recognition, you rebranded a point that you might as well have just launched a new cigar, in my opinion. I mean, granted, you had an audience already, but now you're trying to identify with new people, but you're alienating the old people that were already there. And I think they should have just built off what they already had and left his image, make it a silhouette, if you will, because he was famous for the hat and everything else. And I think they should have just doubled down on that and kept that going. So I think it's an identity issue. It'll be interesting to see if they make that a hot button next year. If they make, it's a fair price cigar. It has some really good cigars in that line. So it'll be interesting to see what they do next year, because I'm assuming, whether it was the 100th or not, but it is the 100th. I'm assuming that that's going to be next year's big ticket that they go after. I don't know what else in the line that they would.
They're going to have to go back to Avo's roots with that to make that work. I don't see how you're going to.
I don't know if they will. I don't think they'll go back.
I don't know if they will. I think
They won't.
They won't.
And I agree.
They should, but
they should.
They
should. Yeah, that would be the one thing I think, because they tried a couple years ago. They brought in that D Nice guy to be, and it seemed like they were trying to reach out to a younger generation. And I don't think that took off the way they wanted it to take off. I don't think it worked. So
no, because look, people today smoking, they don't necessarily want to smoke what their dad did. So you're going after a new generation. So stick with the legacy, and the guy that smokes goes, I want a legacy brand, and I want something that's been around, or I want something that fits me and my style, my tribe, whatever it may be. And I think they just kind of missed the mark on going for their new tribe a little bit. There's so many other cigars that fit that tribe. They should have stuck in the legacy that they had, that market. And they did a good job in the portfolio. They did a good job before Avo died, cutting the portfolio in half because it was getting too convoluted.
Yep.
Stick with what was working and double down on that. And it'll be real interesting to see what they do next year.
Yeah, and I think they got lost with the limited series, which every year, that annual limited series was just incredible. And then when they kind of ended that, they tried to change it to that whole improvisation thing. I don't think that worked either. I just think when they were doing it for Avo's birthday every year, it was something really special. And there was some epic cigars, Fred. Those limiteds, epic.
Look,
the 9, the 10, the 11. Whew.
It needs a brand ambassador that's a voice out there. The same way Sean Williams did a phenomenal job with Cohiba. I think it needs somebody, and I don't know who that is. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but it needs somebody out there that is that legacy, that is pushing the continuation of that legacy that way.
Yeah, I knew Scott when Scott Colasero was there. I thought he did a good job, and then
that was great.
Yeah, Scott knew the Avo story well. He really did.
Yeah.
This could be one of my favorite shows of all time. I don't think I've ever had to be silent for this long. This is awesome.
Sorry, Abe.
No, I love it.
No.
I love it. No, I mean, listen, I think
Garrett Calhoun, he was with Avo forever too. He's another guy that
great guy. Yeah, great guy, Garrett. Yeah,
I think this is an example of being penny wise and pound foolish.
Yeah,
I think upon Avo's passing, if they don't use his imagery and they don't use his stuff, they don't have to pay anybody anymore. I actually, you know what? I don't know what's in the contract. I'm gonna assume,
I don't know it either. Yeah,
we can talk about that offline because I do know. But
okay, well, I'm gonna make an assumption. You can tell me later if I'm right, Fred, or not. But because if that's not the case, if it wasn't just about saving money, why they wouldn't continue because look, it's very hard for any brand to find an identity, and God knows that brand had an identity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody getting in cigars in the last 10 years has no clue what Avo means, symbol of it, who the person was, the colorful history of the man, nothing. And it's a great story. And I think it could have resonated if it's done right, especially something being musical and whatnot. I think it could have resonated. But now, the attachment to music is kind of gone. And even if you do attach it, you don't even know why anymore. So my only guess is it was probably to save some money. I could be wrong. But if it's not, then I think it's very, very foolish. And especially when you're coming up upon the 100th anniversary of something, how do you celebrate? I mean, look, just imagine, we're celebrating 30 years next year. Say we make it to 50 years and somebody's still running my business going, can you imagine them celebrating 50 years and not acknowledging the founder in any way? I mean, fuck, we still talk about Harold T. Ford.
Yeah.
I just don't know how effective it's been, because as a retail guy out of the three of us here, it's definitely been in decline. I think it's been in decline. I think there's a couple good hits they had of something they released and caught a little traction, but there's nothing to maintain it because there's no connection to nothing.
But a good cigar is not enough anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
There's a lot of good cigars out there. That's not the problem. That's a given right now. You have to go out of your way to make a shitty cigar. You really do. You really got to cut corners to make a shitty cigar. I mean, it was obviously cigars you like better, and there's cigars are better than other ones. But at the end of the day, there needs to be a connection to the brand, the manufacturer, the tribe. What am I a part of? Not just a good cigar.
I was with Rafael Nodal on Thursday, and she was in Charlotte, and then he did an event that night, and they were launching, or they were kind of pushing the Romeo 150, and I could tell you that cigar caught on. Craig Cookcast had a huge event. There were about 200 people there. That Romeo 150 caught on because Rafael was there telling the whole story of this brand, telling the story of what they did with this cigar. And it was resonating with people. And I saw people who maybe never smoked Romeo and Julieta. They were not just smoking this cigar. They were buying boxes of this cigar that night. Right. He did a really good. Rafael is excellent at an event, by the way.
Oh, he's great. He's great.
Yeah. I ate with him too, which was pretty good. So that was
that's always good. That's always good.
You want to hear Rafael? You want to hear the Rafael lunch story we had?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a place in Charlotte. It's called Sullivan's Steakhouse, and what's nice about Sullivan is it's one of the few places you could smoke on a patio. So we get there, and Rafael wanted to go there, and he knew, and I recommend. I said, hey, get the business person's lunch special. And it's basically like a Chinese menu almost. You pick one from column A, one from column B, and one from column C, right? So you pick an appetizer, a main course, and a side dish, right? So I recommend. I said, get the shrimp and lobster bisque, right? And then get the Delmonico steak. It's not a huge steak, but for lunch it's fine. It's like 10 ounces. So I go first in order, and I order the lobster bisque. I order the Delmonico steak, and I get the sautéed spinach. Right now, Raphael is like, I'm on a diet. He's like, right? He goes, I'm on a diet, right? So Raphael goes and orders, right? And he orders the shrimp and lobster bisque. He orders the Delmonico steak. And then they said, what do you want for the side dish, which are like vegetables, right? He's like, no vegetable. I'm on a diet. I'm like, Raphael. I go, get this. You go. That's the one he decides to skip. I was laughing my head off.
Steak with the side of steak.
Yeah. But we had the red wine. Raphael got the red wine, and he knows to pick the red wine that pairs with the steak.
Look, I'm a total foodie, and the only time I kept up with Raphael ever is when I was in Spain for 6 weeks. That's the only time I could keep up with what he has on a daily basis.
God bless him.
I went to when I was in Venice. I sent him a picture of this seafood pizza from this restaurant, right? And it was in an off the beaten section of Venice, right? And I send him the picture, and he says, "You're at Aquabar." I said, "How the hell did you know?"
He knows everything.
And it wasn't like in a touristy area. It was in an off the beat. He knew exactly where it was, and it was nothing to indicate. He knew from that pizza what it was, and it's not a famous place or anything like that. Yeah, he knows.
Funny.
He knows.
Yeah.
I always wanted to put together a cigars guide to food. And I wanted to get people like Raphael and a lot of the reps, by the way, they know where the hole in the wall great places are. And I wanted to create a book that had all of their, like here's if you're in Wichita,
I'd buy that book.
And I want to put who recommended that, like it's this rep or it's this manufacturer, or whatever. And I mean, the cigars guide to restaurants or whatever like that. And I would buy that
contribute.
book.
I'll contribute.
I'll do it. Yeah. I mean,
these guys know where the hole in the walls are. They know where to get food. Because if anything about the cigar industry, if we have a second love,
I'm going to tell you something.
Food.
Your BMI index has to be so above so much to be able to contribute, though. I think that should be a stipulation.
That's fair. Yeah, no skinny people, no vegetarians. Yeah.
Look, when Abe recommended that pizza place up in New York, no one had heard. I hadn't heard of this place, and then when I went there, it's like, wow, what a find it was. A little Leaning Tower Pizza it was, I believe.
Let me tell you what I love about that place, real quick. is that it's right around the corner from my hotel. So no matter what you eat during the day, right? When we go back at the end of the night, midnight, 1 a.m., I go have a slice before I go to bed. It's like that's the perfect kind of slice to have before you go to bed, and it tastes good.
Yeah, it's just outside of Times Square, that place too. So it's
Literally,
not like
I stay at the
it's easy-
Intercontinental. I stay at the Intercontinental,
Right, right.
2 blocks down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and we went there this trip. In fact, it's kind of now tradition now when we go and get off the plane, because we always get to the hotel before our rooms are ready. We just walk down and have a slice. That's the first thing we do when we get to New York.
Yeah,
perfect.
Literally.
Honestly, in Manhattan, you can't beat it. I mean, outer boroughs are tough for people to get to, and there's great places in the outer boroughs, but that place, I'm just saying.
It's not a hot spot. There's no lines. We walk up, order a slice, in 5 minutes we're eating.
And you can get it like at 1 a.m, like you said, too.
24 hours are open.
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
Oh, you can get it for breakfast? Oh, I'm in.
Yeah.
It's called. I think it's called Little Italy's.
I keep getting Little Italy. It's Little Italy. It's Little Italy.
Yeah. But
yeah.
I think they're a chain. I think there's
a few of them in the city.
Yeah,
I went to the one you went to.
I go to the one that's right next to Intercontinental. All I get, like when we go, my wife will have to. I just get a cheese slice. That's it.
That's how you judge a good pizza.
That's how you can judge it.
Cheese slice.
If you got to load it with toppings, it's not the same. Yeah, that's my feeling too.
Yeah, cheese slice. That's
cheese slice.
All right.
And it's a nice size too.
Did we cover the part of your news that you wanted our opinion?
Yes, that was the Davidoff piece. So yeah, that's it for this week. Slow week this week.
No, it's all right. We covered, and we got 8 minutes to kill our last 2 segments. So once again, for more information and always up-to-date news, rumor and teaser free, please check out our friend's site at cigar-coop.com. Now, that being said, it is time for our dear friend Pedro from the Drew Estate.
I love Pedro.
It's time to find out, would you rather? Uh-oh. Here we go.
Uh-oh.
All right, here we go. Let's see what Pedro's got for us this week.
Would you rather work from home or go to the office every day?
Ooh.
Good one.
So I'll start out real quick. I think I did them out of order. I think we normally end with Would You Rather, and I forgot Tail of the Tape, but we're going to end with Tail of the Tape this week. That's just the way it goes. That being said, I would rather go to the office every day. Got to get out of the house. Forget the fact that I firmly believe that no matter what scenario you're in, you're only going to be able to work so much of a percentage of what you can work when you're at home, because you're just going to be prone to distractions and shit at home no matter what. I need to get out of the house. I mean, COVID was brutal. There's no way I want to work from home, be home all day. I like getting out of the house. I like seeing people. Even if I work in an office, but I love walking to the bathroom or walking to the bar to get me an iced tea, because I'll stop, I'll see a customer, I'll interact. Definitely going to the office. Don't want to work from home.
I like working from home. I like, my commute is a coffee maker to upstairs to my office. I like that. I do miss all the interaction and stuff like that. And the con is you have a tendency to work more than you probably should. So I have to try to, make sure I leave my office at 4 p.m. type thing. But yeah, I like working from home.
So a little different from me. My caveat is I'm in sales, and the most effective way in sales is to have face-to-face customer engagement. So when I'm with a customer, it's more effective. And I will just say, working from home, doing it with Zoom does not work. All right. So I want people in the office to do that because it's less distracting. So I will definitely say the office for sure on that one.
I think a lot of people who felt that they could do that after COVID realized not too long.
Our company made some changes with that too.
It takes just the right temperament to do it. I mean, look, a lot of that stuff, especially interaction, is better in person. I used to love going down when I was on the show when we were in the studio. We couldn't smoke in the studio, but being across from the people that were on the show and getting those bagels were a big plus. But right? Nothing replaces that.
I agree with you on that. So it's definitely be in the office or be at your customer's office for me. Yeah.
All right. Well, time to enter our final segment. This is the final week of season 11. Tail of the Tape. and we're all gonna pick. Fred, you've been on a couple weeks mentioning your favorite TV dads. I think
I did.
Yeah.
I brought one in my mind today. That's
So
I
you're,
don't know
you're
if it's on your
back.
list
You're
or
back
not.
for number one, the final episode of season 11, Tale of the Tape.
Perfect.
We're gonna go and we're going to tell you who our number one picks are today. Speaking of which, we need to come up with a topic.
Okay, so I got a suggestion from someone. I will run by you guys.
Yeah.
I did say to the person, "Hey, it's Abe and Alex will have to buy in, but I'll at least give you that suggestion offline."
Yeah, we got to come up with a topic. I think we start our new season after July 4th, since I think we're not doing an episode on the 5th.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we'll get time to put it together and have a new season. So, Coop. Well, actually, let's start with the guy who's not here. The GOAT.
I know what Alex's is for sure.
Let's see who his number one pick for best TV dads. Tale of Tape, season 11. Here we go.
You see, out there, it's the 1990s, but in his house, it's 1954.
I mean, come on. Has there ever been a greater line in the history of TV? Matter of fact, has there ever been a greater line in the history of fatherhood? Look, obviously, there was no question. There was never any doubt that Tony Soprano was going to be number one on my list. It was obvious. I think I said it to the guys from the start. But just for that line alone, who beats that? Who beats that? Tony Soprano, number one. No question. It was never a doubt. Peace. I'm out.
All right. Well, I think mine beats it.
Mine too.
You go ahead. You go ahead, Coop.
All right, you want to guess? I'll tell you. My number 2 is Mike Brady. What do you think my number 1 was?
I can't say because I know.
Okay, so Fred, you want to take a guess? Mike Brady was my number 2. What was my number 1?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll reveal it. This is a Coop pick. It is Howard Cunningham from Happy Days, a.k.a. Mr. C, a.k.a. called by Ralph Mouth Howie. He drove to DeSoto. He had the hardware store. He was in every episode. He took Fonzie under his wing and made him like this surrogate son, this hood. To me, Howard Cunningham was the ultimate TV dad in my book.
I don't know what the hell happened, but I know for a fact, because I saw him before the episode, that there was a picture of Howard Cunningham, yours and mine, in this. Oh, it's the wrong thing. Here you go. Sorry. So this was Alex's pick. Got your places.
It's Tony. I knew that was going to be his. Yeah, there was no doubt.
This is
yours. Howie. There he is. Howard Cunningham. Tom Bonsley played that role great too.
Great TV dad, hands down.
Yeah.
But unquestionably, in my book, and I didn't know Alex was going to throw video clips because there's probably a million great video clips of this TV dad. And Fred, I don't know if you remember, but mine are just based on not how great of a father they were, whatever. It's just based on who I enjoyed to watch the most.
Yeah, 100%.
This guy undoubtedly gets number one because, in my opinion, he was the best TV dad, not on 1, but on 2 epic TV series, which is huge.
Ooh.
It's fucking Ed O'Neill.
Okay, and no one had him. Yeah,
Ed O'Neill. Ed O'Neill. First off, this character, which is who I picked it from, Al Bundy. Probably the best fucking TV dad. There's a million fucking better lines that Al Bundy fucking. I was just watching a clip the other day where he's yelling, he's saying how much he loved his car. He loves his car more than his children. And his son goes, but Dad, what about me? And he turns, do you need a Q-tip? I mean, there is an endless amount of lines, but
oh my goodness,
also one of my favorite TV dads in Modern Family. I mean, he is the quintessential person that people of our age want to be as a father, but had to deal with, a gay son and a daughter, and then the son-in-law who's not your type of man, and then had a younger wife. I mean, it was brilliant. He was funny, older man with a young child. I mean, it was brilliant. And for this guy to be one of my favorite TV characters in 2 major series. For me, hands down, he takes the number 1.
He is a good. I was surprised. I didn't have him on my list because I didn't think he was the greatest father, but he was what a character he was. That's
The
what
best.
I mean. Yeah, it's that show was Al Bundy. That show was all about.
You don't pick it. I mean, I guess it depends on what your criteria. You can't just pick it on who's a great father because then you're going to go, I don't know, Charles Ingalls. Who's like
because that's in the writing, right?
Yeah,
that's in the writing. They wrote a good father, they wrote a bad father.
Charles Ingalls wasn't a bad father.
Oh, he used to beat people up and stuff. What do you mean? He would
Shit was rough back then, Coop. Come on.
That show was like torture for me as a kid. I hated that show. How come he lived in a crappy house when everyone else in the town lived in a good house?
Before we clock out, Fred, what's your favorite?
I'd have to agree on Ed O'Neill because he pulled it off in 2 different series. I mean, I agree.
I agree. That is a great point.
I'm a huge Red Foreman fan from that 70s show, but I got to say Ed O'Neill. I mean, for number 1, I his Al Bundy character, and then to do it again in another series, I can't argue with that.
So
Tony Soprano made all of our lists, by the way. Did he? No, he didn't make.
He didn't make Gabe's list.
He didn't make Gabe's list. Okay.
No, Tony.
Oh, he did. He did make Gabe's list. Yeah, he did make Gabe's list. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Definitely on my list.
Oh yes, he's number 4.
It's really funny. I think for the first time, I don't think 2 of the people on our list made it anywhere. I don't think Howard was on anybody's list. And I don't think Al Bundy
Mike Brady wasn't on anyone else's list. I was surprised at him.
This is a pretty good list.
Alex's list was a little different, so I understand that.
Yeah, this is a very diverse list. But here's our final leaderboard for the greatest TV dads. Season 11, Tale of Tape, and the books. Consider it done. There you go. Al Bundy was my. As I came up with my list, like Alex, I just knew he was going to be number 1 no matter what.
If he wasn't in Chicago, though, would you have still had him number 1?
I don't know, but Modern Family would lock it in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I'm not a big sitcom watcher. I like drama. I'm not like a big 30-minute, sitcom watcher. But those 2 sitcoms, I watched every episode as it aired on TV. I mean, it was brilliant in its time, and for this guy to be such an epic father in 2 different shows, he was my number 1 to start with.
So. Married with Children, I say is the one sitcom that got better over time, in my opinion, too.
Mm-hmm.
It actually got better as the show went on.
It survived cast changes. I mean, it was the shit. It really was shit.
It did. They had a major cast change, and it actually worked in their favor. They brought that guy Jefferson in.
Absolutely. Well, listen, all I could say is look at this for timing. We know now an LBD Blue is perfect for a KMA.
There you go.
All right. Fred, thank you for joining us. I know you came up last night and joined us this morning.
It's all good, man. I always love being here.
It was a great show. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I really did, everybody.
It was fun.
It was good talking, and we're going to start lining up people for the next guest spots. I'll be in touch with you, Fred, for the next few months of KMA Talk Radio. We hope everybody enjoyed your Saturday. We hope you all had fun and that it was 2 hours well spent. Until next week, everybody. Keep it lit.